right, that brings us to our second strategy. Once you've dived deep to do that, now it's time to square your shoulders when you make a decision and step into it confidently. You know, the most debilitating thing about uncertain times is actually the uncertainty. I mean, I mentioned before that there are always things that we know that bother us or that we fear, but most people and organizations aren't tripped up by that because they can prepare for them. They can get ready and deal with whatever it is. They can manage to overcome what they know. It's the unknown that comes in and steals credibility and commitment, because when we don't know what's out there, we begin to fear it, or we start realizing that we can't even anticipate what that is. We start to wonder if really we have any control at all. And when we don't feel like we can control things, we can exert our own will or move forward in spite of things, well, we start feeling like a victim of our circumstances. And when people feel like victims, their commitment and their capacity disappears very quickly. So in situations like that, your job is to give them something firm to hold on to, some sense that we're exerting some level of control on things and that we're not victims. You have to embody this sort of firm place in the midst of all that transition and all of that change so that they can have confidence as well. Now, squaring your shoulders like that takes a lot of effort. You know this, right? Because in times of uncertainty, you as a leader feel, well, anything but certain yourself, right? Sometimes you're facing moments where, it's a judgment call. There isn't any objective right decision, and you recognize you're weighing these different options, and there's no way really to decide which is best to do other than to just square your shoulders and pick one. That's the time to step confidently into it, to demonstrate that for your people when you make the judgment call. Another time that's tough is when you're facing sort of a multiple choice. You've been there, right? Where you're looking at all of your options. It's like A, B, C, and D, and none of them are good. In fact, all of them seem to be bad. And instead of feeling like you have the opportunity to pick the right choice or the best choice, it honestly feels like you just have to pick the least bad choice. Unfortunately, that's the reality of leadership, especially in times of uncertainty. But when you make that choice, it's vital that you don't waver or seem tentative. Once you've made the choice, square your shoulders and show some confidence as you turn away from the other options and step forward into that one. And finally, it's difficult when you know you're going to face disagreement. In normal times, maybe times with less uncertainty, you make a good decision because a large number of people end up agreeing with you. You're making a decision that the majority of your team or your organization will support. But in times of uncertainty, sometimes ahead of time that people are going to disagree with you, and yet you have to square your shoulders and step forward. I mean, an example like this I see time and time again is the choices many organizations have to make about masks. Right now, the whole concept of wearing masks has gotten so politicized that people are all over the map, but they feel it strongly. And so no matter what you're trying to decide, whether you wear masks, don't wear masks, optionally wear masks, before you ever make the choice that a significant number of your people are going to violently disagree with whatever you say. Boy, that's a hard moment. But this is the time to square your shoulders and show confidence as you step in. I mean, it may be counterintuitive, but in uncertain times, sometimes it's better to make the wrong choice with confidence than to make the right choice tentatively, because what your people need most to find you credible and continue to be committed is they need an example of confidence that we can move forward, we can make progress. We're not victims of all of this. Now, I know as you look at this quote, it gets a little frightening to think, leaders could just be capricious and make all these decisions and could have this sort of blind bravado. But let me just say one word about the difference between confidence and bravado. Your confidence, it doesn't lie in the belief that you're infallible, because you're not, right? And leaders that believe that or are trying to act like they are infallible are dangerous, because those leaders are always hedging their bet. When those judgment calls come, they don't make them because they don't want anyone to find out they were wrong. Or worse, once they've made a decision and the circumstances change, when they realize they're going the wrong direction, they're unwilling to change their mind. You don't want to be like that. That's just bravado and arrogance. You want confidence that's rooted in the fact that you know you've made the right decision, the best decision you could make with what you know at the time. You've made the best choice you can make, and you're willing to step into it with that kind of certainty, and you'll change your mind if you need to. More about that in a moment, because it's our final point.